Good Tuesday, everyone, and thank you for listening to episode 27 of the Southern Conservative Podcast. My name is Ty. I'm sure you noticed yesterday how I did not mention a word about Sunday's Academy Awards. And that's because I'm sure most of you listening to this podcast, and those of you who follow my Facebook page, did not watch the Academy Awards on Sunday. And when the numbers came in, it had the lowest viewership on record. That's because people don't want the Hollywood elites dictating to them, telling people how they should think, what's politically correct, how those in Hollywood are taking the moral high road on gun control and the Me Too movement, when in reality, Hollywood is nothing short of a cesspool. Those in Hollywood are completely out of touch with ordinary Americans. And those in Hollywood allowed the sexual scandal that is Harvey Weinstein and others to continue to molest and rape rising stars, including minors. No one blew the whistle until it was politically expedient to do so. And that, folks, is absolutely shameful. Everyone in Hollywood knew the scandal was taking place and not a word was said. No one was shocked when sexual allegations were levied against Harvey Weinstein. And that's because everyone knew what was going on. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into some real stories now. Fox News had an article on their website yesterday detailing how Peter Strzok was aware that Clinton's email server appeared to have been hacked, but did nothing about it. You'll recall that Strzok was the lead investigator into the Hillary Clinton email scandal. He helped James Comey write his exoneration letter of Hillary Clinton months before Hillary or other key witnesses were interviewed by the FBI. Among the changes made to Comey's final report included Hillary was simply extremely careless in her handling of classified information instead of grossly negligent, which is the language in the statute governing the mishandling of classified information. Strzok was also heavily involved in the FBI's investigation into Donald Trump's campaign. Text messages between Strzok and his mistress Lisa Page are still being looked at. From what we already know, the text messages clearly show how the fix was in, how the FBI never intended to recommend Hillary Clinton be charged. Messages also reveal Attorney General Loretta Lynch knew Hillary was not going to be indicted. There was talk of an insurance policy with a guy named Andy, most likely Andrew McCabe, to help prevent Trump from getting elected, and then if he did get elected, to help bring down his presidency. Messages also helped to form a timeline in which the FBI discovered emails on Anthony Weiner's laptop that contained messages between Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin. It's been learned that the FBI did not reopen the investigation into Hillary Clinton until a month after the discovery of those emails. So now it appears there is more damning information against Peter Strzok. According to Catherine Herridge from Fox News, during the final months of the Clinton email investigation, FBI agent Peter Strzok was advised of an irregularity in the metadata of Hillary Clinton's server that suggested a possible breach, but there was no significant follow-up, according to two sources with knowledge of the matter. Sources told Fox News that Strzok was told about the metadata anomaly in 2016, but he did not support a formal damage assessment. One source said that nothing happened. Fox News is told the Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz is aware of the allegations. A report from Horowitz's 14-month investigation into the DOJ and FBI's handling of the Clinton email case is expected at any time. According to Intelligence Community Directive 732, damage assessments are done, quote, in response to unauthorized disclosure or compromise of classified national intelligence. Intelligence beyond top secret was identified on the Clinton server. As Secretary of State, Clinton chose to use a private, non-secure server for government business. The FBI had no comment to Fox News questions about Strzok, his awareness of the metadata issue, and what actions, if any, he took. There was also no comment from the Inspector General's office. In December, when the text messages between Strzok and FBI lawyer Lisa Page became public, congressional sources said Strzok was part of then FBI Director James Comey's inner circle, who advised and made edits to Comey's July 2016 public statement, recommending against criminal charges in the Hillary probe. The edits addressed the likelihood the Clinton server had been compromised. In the initial May 2016 draft, 2 months before Clinton and more than a dozen key witnesses were interviewed, Comey said it was, quote, reasonably likely that hostile actors gained access to then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's private email account. That was later changed to say the scenario was merely possible. In his July 2016 statement, Comey said, quote, with respect to potential computer intrusion by hostile actors, we did not find direct evidence that Secretary Clinton's personal email domain in its various configurations since 2009 was successfully hacked. But, given the nature of the system and of the factors potentially involved, we assessed that we would be unlikely to see such direct evidence. Comey said hostile actors got access to private accounts of Clinton's close contacts. He also said Clinton's use of personal email was widely known. Her email address was readily apparent, and she used the account while traveling overseas where hostile nations and sophisticated hackers operate. Given that combinations of factors, we assess it as possible that hostile actors gained access to Secretary Clinton's personal email account, James Comey said at the time. So while Comey said in July 2016 that the FBI did not find evidence of hackings, but that such evidence would be difficult to find, he acknowledged it was possible hostile actors, i.e. foreign governments, hacked her server. Now, I personally find it hard to believe that the FBI would not be able to determine whether a server was hacked. We saw numerous times under the Obama administration and other administrations foreign governments hacking U.S. government computer systems. If we can spot those hacks, we can surely spot hacks into a private email server in someone's home. So here we are finding out more information about Peter Strzok and his lack of investigative work in the Hillary email case. But knowing all that we know about Peter Strzok, how in the world was he ever allowed to be part of Robert Mueller's special counsel team investigating Donald Trump? Of course, he was booted from the investigation after the special counsel learned of text messages between him and Lisa Page. But this guy clearly has an anti-Trump, pro-Hillary agenda. But one text message that was very revealing was when Strzok mentioned that he wasn't sure if he wanted to join the special counsel because he knew that there was no there there. And he would know this because he was part of the FBI team who investigated Trump before the special counsel took over. You combine this with Rod Rosenstein's recent comments that no American knowingly participated with Russians in influencing the election, and there you have it, folks. No collusion. Now, I can't wait to see what Michael Horowitz has to say about his investigation into how the FBI handled the Clinton email investigation. And I would think, given all we know, Peter Strzok would be someone who was clearly involved in getting Hillary off the hook. I would also like to see those text messages between Page and Strzok that were initially missing in a critical time frame from December 2016 to May 2017. I believe they are pretty damning and may shed more light as to that insurance plan involving Andy. I believe it has something to do with the Steele dossier. I suppose time will tell. As I mentioned earlier, I do have a Facebook page, and I hope you will like it and follow the Facebook page. Go to facebook.com/Southern Conservative. That's facebook.com/Southern Conservative. There you will find links to conservative news articles on stories you might not hear about in the mainstream media. Plus, if you follow the news feed, you'll find links to the daily podcasts. Be sure to also subscribe to this YouTube channel. You'll be alerted each time a new podcast has been posted. New podcasts are posted daily, Monday through Thursday. John Solomon from The Hill wrote an interesting article yesterday. It concerns the conversation George Papadopoulos had with Australian Ambassador Alexander Downer. Recall that Papadopoulos was part of Trump's election campaign. A professor in London by the name of Joseph Mifsud spoke to Papadopoulos in April 2016, claiming the Russians had gotten a hold of thousands of Clinton emails. 1 month later, in May 2017, while drunk in a bar in London, Papadopoulos told Alexander Downer that the Russian government had obtained Clinton emails. Downer told this to the Australian government officials, who then made the FBI aware in July 2016. That would be the spark that started the Trump collusion investigation. Now, John Solomon reports that Downer, the Australian ambassador to the United Kingdom, played a key role in securing millions of dollars in Australian money to the Clinton Foundation in 2006. According to Solomon, the Australian diplomat whose tip in 2016 prompted the Russia-Trump investigation previously arranged one of the largest foreign donations to Bill and Hillary Clinton's charitable efforts. Former Australian Foreign Minister Alexander Downer's role in securing $25 million in aid from his country to help the Clinton Foundation fight AIDS is chronicled in decade-old government memos archived on the Australian Foreign Ministry's website. Downer and former President Clinton jointly signed a Memorandum of Understanding in February 2006 that spread out the grant money over 4 years for a project to provide screening and drug treatment to AIDS patients in Asia. The money was initially allocated to the Clinton Foundation, but later was routed through an affiliate of the charity known as the Clinton Health Access Initiative, officials said. Australia was one of 4 foreign governments to donate more than $25 million to the Clinton Health Access Initiative. In the years that followed, the project won praise for helping thousands of HIV-infected patients in Papua New Guinea, Vietnam, China, and Indonesia, but also garnered criticism from auditors about management weaknesses and inadequate budget oversight. Downer, now Australia's ambassador to London, provided the account of a conversation with Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos at a bar in London in 2016 that became the official reason the FBI opened the Russia counterintelligence probe. But lawmakers say the FBI did not tell Congress about Downer's prior connection to the Clinton Foundation. Republicans say they are concerned the new information means nearly all of the early evidence the FBI used to justify its election year probe of Trump came from sources supportive of the Clintons, including the controversial Steele dossier. The Clintons' tentacles go everywhere, so that's why it's important, said Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio, chairman of a House Oversight and Government Reform Subcommittee that has been taking an increasingly visible role defending the Trump administration in the Russia probe. We continue to get new information every week, it seems, that sort of underscores the fact that the FBI has not been square with us. I saw where John Solomon was talking to Sean Hannity on his show last night. Solomon mentioned how there were 4 sources of information the FBI used to start its investigation. Ambassador Downer, who appears to have a friendly relationship with the Clintons, Christopher Steele, who was paid by the Clinton campaign and the DNC to write his dossier of salacious BS about Donald Trump, Christopher Steele talking to Michael Isikoff, who published a story in Yahoo News that was used by the FBI as corroboration of the dossier, and Cody Shearer and Sidney Blumenthal, 2 very close confidants of the Clintons, routing information to Jonathan Weiner at the State Department to give to Christopher Steele to write a second dossier, which was then given to the FBI. So you can see how all of these sources have ties back to Hillary Clinton. We get more and more evidence all of the time that the real collusion appears to involve Russia and Hillary, not Russia and Trump. Now, I know that this $25 million happened 10 years before the Trump investigation started, but there always seems to be a quid pro quo involving the Clintons. That appears to be the case in Hillary signing off on the Uranium One deal. I mean, how is it that Hillary Clinton, who was working at the Rose Law Firm in Arkansas, her husband was the governor of Arkansas and then president of the United States for 8 years. She was the first lady for those 8 years. Then she was elected to the U.S. Senate and served for 8 years before becoming Obama's first Secretary of State, in which she served for 4 years. So the Clintons more or less have had a career of public service between the early 90s and 2013. So how is it that the Clintons are worth $150 million? I know both Bill and Hillary have been paid lucrative speaking fees, but you would have to give a lot of talks to rack up $150 million. These two have lived off of the money brought into the foundation. I would not be surprised at all if Hillary maintained a relationship with Alexander Downer in the 10 years between 2006 and 2016. And even if there wasn't a relationship, and the donation made 10 years ago had nothing to do with anything, there's still this picture of impropriety. I mean, it's pretty convenient that it just so happens the man who tips off the Australian government and later the FBI about Russians hacking Hillary's emails just so happens to have donated $25 million in Australian money to the Clinton Foundation. And the FBI uses this to start an investigation into Trump-Russia collusion because the ambassador was told this information from a Trump campaign advisor. It's just too convenient. And by the way, when WikiLeaks released John Podesta's emails in the summer of 2016, Julian Assange said that no state actors were involved in the hacking of the emails. In other words, Julian Assange says Russia was not involved in the hacking of the emails. We do not have any proof today that it was the Russians who hacked those emails and then gave them to WikiLeaks. We do not have any evidence that what the London professor told Papadopoulos is true. So far, we don't know that the FBI confirmed what the Australian ambassador said was true. Now, this was July 2016. It's now March 2018, and we still have a special counsel investigating collusion between Trump and Russia, and not one person has been charged with collusion. Papadopoulos has not been charged with collusion. Carter Page, the man the FBI obtained 4 warrants to surveil, has not been charged with anything, let alone collusion. The investigation is one big sham, and there is a growing chorus, mostly from those on the right, that this investigation needs to be ended and that a second special counsel needs to be formed to investigate the FISA abuse. Well, that does it for today, folks. Please check back tomorrow for another podcast. Have a great day, everybody.